Razer's Deathadder mouse has seen many different iterations over the years, but has generally remained the same, but that's definitely not the case with Razer's most recent release of the Deathadder V3 Pro, which actually has some new features as well as a change in the shape from the Deathadder that we're all used to. In the box, besides getting the mouse itself, you're gonna get a dongle, which is of course gonna allow for that wireless connection, a USB-C dongle adapter, and then also some mouse grips, and then finally a USB-A to USB-C cable, which is a welcome addition. When first taking the V3 Pro out of the box, it is just a little odd not having that exact iconic Deathadder shape that we're so used to having. It does lose some of that ergo charm, not having quite as much of a flared out back and front panels, so it trades it in for a slightly more streamlined design, gives it a little bit more of an ambi feel on the side panels as well, but you still do have that nice hump on top, although with the V3 Pro, it's actually a little bit higher, and I will say that change actually makes a big difference. It fills out your palm a lot better and makes it feel more ergonomically correct for holding onto the mouse. After going back to the old Deathadder shape and moving to this, I will say the V3 Pro I find much more comfortable. And yes, the V3 Pro, though it did lose some in the way of actual size of the mouse, it lost even more in the way of weight, now being 25 grams lighter than its predecessor of the V2 Pro, which came in at 88 grams. It's now down to 63 grams, so around the same weight as the G Pro Superlight, which is really awesome to see, especially for an ergonomic shaped mouse like the Deathadder. With that reduced weight, they also cut out any extra frills or features that you might expect, so you're not gonna see any RGB, there's no DPI buttons on the top and no dongle storage on the mouse itself, but of course you trade that in for having that lower weight. And in addition with that, it does allow you to get all the way up to 90 hours of battery life, so you can really game on this thing for many days without even have to worry about plugging it in. For the shell on the mouse itself, you're gonna get the same plastic on every single surface, and for the texture of it, has kind of a similar texture that we're used to seeing with Razer. Has that PBT keycap sort of feel, so nice and grippy, works great for holding onto it. And on the front of the mouse, something very exciting, we see that we have a USB-C port, so we see Razer's finally catching up with the times here, moving over to that USB-C, so for all of you guys that have USB-C cables already on your desk, you can plug this right in when you want to charge it. On the bottom of the mouse, for PTFE skates, you're gonna have one bigger one on the bottom, two smaller separate ones on the front, and then that one ring around the sensor, which so far, these PTFE glides have been great for me, giving me no issues. Of course, if you want to get even better glide, you can upgrade those with aftermarket skates. On the bottom though, you're gonna have one button. This button's gonna double both as a DPI and a power button. If you wanna use it for the DPI, you just tap it individually with one hit each time while the mouse is powered on. And if you wanna power it on or off, all you do is you hold down that button. It'll light up on top with a light indicator to let you know if it's on or off. On the mouse, they're using their Focus Pro 30K optical sensor, which as to be expected with this day and age of gaming mouse, super spot on for me so far. Absolutely no issues, no spinouts or no faultiness in that sensor itself. One of the cool things about the mouse though is you can actually choose to buy it with Razer's hyper polling wireless dongle, which what that's gonna allow you to do is normally when you have this wirelessly paired, it gives you that 1000 hertz polling rate, but with that extra adapter, it allows you to get all the way up to 4000 hertz polling rate. So for those of you that might find that useful, definitely a cool option to have. For connectivity on the V3 Pro, you can of course use it wired and you will have to plug it in at some point. So you have to use it wired just to at least charge it. But mainly of course, if you're gonna be having this mouse, you're gonna be wanting to use it with that 2.4 gigahertz wireless connection, which can of course be achieved with the dongle included, which can be plugged straight into your PC, or you can use it with that dongle adapter if you wanna maybe get it closer to the mouse itself. So far for me, really spot on, no issues with that connection. And that's even with me having multiple dongles and wireless devices plugged into my computer. It's using Razer's new Gen 3 optical switches, which according to Razer are just supposed to be slightly more tactile while also offering a longer life cycle of up to 90 million clicks. And I can't speak, of course, to that 90 million click life cycle, but I can say they are a nice, snappy, responsive clicks, don't take a lot of pressure to actually activate. And with the front mouse 1 and 2 clicks also, not a lot of pre or post travel in there, which is nice to see, just about what you'd expect with most gaming mice today. As far as the scroll wheel itself, it is pretty smooth rolling, but you can still feel each stage individually, so not too smooth scrolling where you don't feel anything. And then the side buttons themselves, also in a really nice position. They did shift them slightly up, which for me personally also puts them in a little bit better spot. Very easy to access, and they also feel really nice not having much pre or post travel on them. The main thing with the Deathadder V3 Pro is gonna be the price tag. It comes in $150, and if you wanna also add the option of having that 4K polling rate, gonna add an extra about $20 on there. So $150, $170 around that range, though alongside with other flagship mice in today's offerings, definitely not out of the ordinary. Most mice are gonna be north of $140 if it's a flagship wireless offering. And yes, consider that price tag, but also consider some of the features this thing brings to the table as well. I think every upgrade it's made over the previous Deathadder models has actually been an improvement and nothing that's, I would say, brought it a step down from where it was. The USB-C port, great to have. I think the new shape is a great step in the right direction. I was kind of worried about it being someone that used the Deathadder a lot in the past, but honestly, the smooth out side panels, getting rid of some of those flares, I think feels nice. But one of the biggest improvements for me has been that slightly higher hump. It fills out my hand a lot better, makes it a lot more comfortable for palm and claw grip because it hits into the back of your palm just a lot easier for using it for that. And along with that, you also have those side buttons shifted up a little bit too, which I think places it in a better spot for the thumb. And of course, that lighter weight of 63 grams makes it feel really great in hand while you're playing. So overall, all those upgrades, I think very worthwhile. If you're someone who liked the old Deathadder, I think you're not gonna have any issues adjusting to the V3 Pro. And if you like an ergo shape and that price tag is just not too far out of your reach, I definitely think it's worth considering and I can definitely recommend it. Thank you so much for watching. Please do consider subscribing if you enjoy this kind of content and hit the like button for me. But definitely check out these other mouse reviews on the screen right now if you guys are still in the market and checking out some other options.